And I think we can get going. Very good. Welcome back, everybody, to part 3 of the new user orientation for EdgeRater. This session is, well, I should say, obviously, as before, same disclaimer. The agenda for today is there's a new template that I released just a few days ago, which is essentially the opposite of the pullbacks in an uptrend template, and this template tries to detect retracements in a downtrend, and if they sort of then start to rally back up to a moving average and then move back down again, this template will pick them out. So we're going to quickly look at that. And then the majority of time I'm going to spend on the idea of template editing and template creation. I'm going to create a template from scratch and show you how to do that. So this webinar is going to be quite a bit more advanced than the other two. So in the other two, we went through some very basic necessary functionality to get everybody up to speed and started. So I think at this point, everybody can use the software, but nobody really is yet creating templates for themselves. So that is a more advanced piece of functionality, and you need to know a little bit about Excel in order to do that. So if you don't know Excel, that's okay, you can still follow along, and then hopefully you'll get to learn a little bit about Excel as we're going. But there are going to be some techniques from Excel that it will help if you know them. So so I apologize if it's too advanced for everybody, but I think that a lot of users are actually Excel users as well, and I think people will get a lot from this. So and then I want to answer any questions that have come up from any of the previous parts of this series. So quickly then we'll go through this new template. I'm not going to spend a lot of time here, but this, as I said, is the opposite of the uptrend template. And the idea in this template is, and by the way, to run this, you should now see, if you click on the Jeffrey Scott High Growth Stock Doc icon on the right hand side, there's another template underneath pullbacks in uptrend. There's retracements in a downtrend, and that will bring up the template that we're going to talk about. And it's trying to pick out things like this. This is a chart from June the 24th, 2014. You see there's a long downtrend in Alpha Natural Resources, and it has been coming down for several months, and then at the bottom here it's had a little bit of a reverse, and it's come up to a moving average, the 50-period moving average, and then we've seen a downtrend and with an impulse. So it's had a kahuna coming down. We'll also actually, you can see that this is a reverse pocket pivot on the downside too. So the template would have picked this out. In fact, if I go back a slide, you'll see that ANR was picked out on 6/24/14 because it was resuming a downtrend, and it came to within 5% of one of the moving averages. So it's actually at the top of the list on 6/24. So so then let's look at a chart from 7/16. So this was actually the close price from yesterday. And so here you can see the 6/24 bar that came down, and then there was some attempt to hold at that price, but as you can see, it sort of ended up selling off. And so this template is really trying to pick out things that are rallying back, and there's some sort of resistance, the moving averages, and then impulses come in the downward direction. So let's take a quick look at that in the software. And there's one thing that even if you have this template, or let's say an earlier version of this template, there's one thing that is new as of this morning. And you'll notice I'm looking for a number up here of 2014.7.1. You may only have 2014.7. If you don't have the 0.1, then just hit Get Latest Templates, and you'll be able to download 2014.7.1. And that just has an update to the retracements template that just makes it work a little bit better. So some of these templates are modified as time goes on, just as we find ways to make them better, and you'll automatically get them by using that get latest templates. So make sure you have the 2014.7.1. Then I'm going to run this template on my list of weekly options. And then one of the important things to do, it's not necessary, but if you want to also ensure, so I've got my columns sorted by custom sort 1, which is really just picking out things that have had a downtrend, have had a little bit of a rally and a resuming downtrend. And then if I also sort by custom sort 2, that's now picking out things where the rally came to within 5% of one of the moving averages. So in this list of 310 stocks, there's only a handful, 1, 2, 3, 4, there's only 6 stocks that actually came to within one of the moving averages before they started moving down again. And then you can see the number of bars that they've been in the current downtrend. So some of these are extended quite a bit. This one here, Best Buy, if we take a look at that, we can see it's already 9 bars into this move. And if I choose my layout, I can still use the pullback in uptrend layout, even though it's for the downtrend, but it has all the right indicators on it. And so we can see why this became why this happened to be part of the report. Now, one difference between the uptrend and the downtrend template is that the zigzag percentage on the downtrend has been set to 20. Just from sort of experimenting a little bit, this appears to give a somewhat better selection of stocks. And so when I change the zigzag on the left over here, you can see that here's the downtrend. This is what it was picking out. The template's picking this out as a downtrend. It's picking up this rally back here, and then it's picking out this resumption of or potential resumption of downtrend here with the little kahuna. Of course, let me just go back to the template, and we were looking at Best Buy, so let's make sure that one is selected. And right, so here we can see, let's just explain what this is. I'll zoom out a little bit. So here's the downtrend, here's the rally, and here the peak of this rally came to the 200 period moving average, just almost exactly spot on the 200 period moving average. So down, retracement, and then who knows where we're going from here, but it's trying to pick out things that might have some resistance and might continue to move down. So that's it. I don't want to spend any more time on this. I think everybody gets the idea, and it's very similar, just opposite to the uptrend template. Are there any questions on that one before I just move on? Okay, one sec. I'm just going to read through these. Okay, Ron. We'll sort that out later. Okay, great, Ron. All right, thanks. So we will quickly move on then to this idea of creating a template. Now, out of everybody online here, just can you quickly type a Y if that is something you think you would want to do? If that's interesting to you, type a Y. If you think you'll never do that, type an N. Okay, so that is 100% of people are interested in doing this. So I'll try and make this good. Well, I would have tried to make it good anyway, of course. Now, what I'm going to do, so this is a little bit involved with Excel. So the first thing I want to do, this is really your starting point. And the starting point is in the file system. I said this was a little bit more advanced than the previous sessions, so that is true. First thing you want to do is come into your Edge Club folder, and I'm going to just say create a new Microsoft Excel worksheet. Okay, and I'm going to do this without having, I'm going to close down my copy of EdgeRater for now. And it actually works better if you first of all create this document before you start EdgeRater up, when you're creating a brand new one. So it's called New Microsoft Excel Worksheet. I'm just going to rename this Webinar Worksheet. Oops. Okay, so that is a brand new Excel document. If I open it up in Excel, you'll see there's nothing in there. This is just a standard blank worksheet. Now, the first thing that you should do is create a new sheet within this worksheet. And if you know Excel, you know the way to do that is to click on the little plus icon. You get a second sheet. You can rename that sheet, and you have to name this one parameters. Okay, and this is where we'll store the settings for this worksheet. And there are 3 settings that are important on this worksheet. And if you just give me 1 second, just want to make sure that I get the namings of these right. Okay, so, and this is very, I'm not even going to worry about formatting or anything like that, but you can format this however you like. But all that's important here is to just get 3 values in here. One, and I'm just going to enter a text field here, so it doesn't really matter what this says, uses symbol list. Okay, I'm going to say true to that. Number 2, template type. Maybe this should have been number 1, but it doesn't really matter. Template type, and this is important. It's got to be called last underscore bar underscore values. I'll explain that in a minute. And the third thing is max look back. Oops. And I'm going to say 500 bars of look back for this. Once I've set that up, this is very important. EdgeRater will read this template and it will look for named values. Named values in Excel are extremely important to know about when you're working with templates. And it's basically a way that you can name, I say named values, or named ranges, I think is the actual correct term for it. But Excel provides you with a way of naming a range. So for instance, this range that I'm looking at here that says true, which is identified by B1. If you know anything about Excel, that cell is called B1. And I can actually give it a special name. And the name I want to give this is, and make sure I get this correct. Yeah, it's called ER underscore setting underscore uses symbol list. Enter. So you see I entered the name by entering it into this drop down box here, the name box. Now if ever I select that name, it's going to bring my highlighted cell back to B1. But this name is extremely important because EdgeRater will read the worksheet and then it will look for a name called ER setting uses symbol list, and it will look for the value of that that cell, which is currently true. That will mean that whenever you select this template, the symbol list will be enabled and not grayed out. A lot of people have had questions about that in the past, but that's essentially what is happening. Some of the templates don't use symbol lists and some of them do. So you kind of have to say that it does. The next one you have to give a name, and this is should be called ER underscore template type. Okay, and of course it should be template underscore type. So this gives us an opportunity, because I typed the name wrong in here, I can't just go and edit it in this box. If you know anything about Excel, it won't let you. I can try and change it in here, but it won't actually stick. So what you need to do is go to your formulas, go to name manager, and this name manager shows you every single named range that you have in your workbook. So this template type, I should edit it, and I should just call it ER underscore template underscore type. Okay, and I'll close that. So I have settings uses symbol list and template type, and this last one, max lookback, has to be given a name. And I have a slide with all of these on that I'll show later. It has to be called, one second, ER setting max lookback. Okay, so ER underscore setting underscore max look back. Okay, so I have 3 named ranges so far in this sheet. The sheet has to be called parameters. That is required. Excuse me, my phone is just ringing. Yeah, so the sheet is called parameters. All right, and I'm just going to save this now. And because it was in this location under Edge Club directly, it's saved under here. When I save it, obviously it's saved to the same place. So now I'm going to run EdgeRater. All right, I'm just going to hit the icon to get EdgeRater running. And you'll notice something different now when you run EdgeRater, because I've put this template or this Excel file under the Edge Club root folder. It's now going to be picked up by the templates. It knows there's a new file there, and it's going to show it in the under your My Templates category. There's a category called My Templates, and you should see 2 things in there. There's a test.xlsx, which is delivered when you install the system, and then there's this new template called Webinar Worksheet, which we just created. And if I click on that, you can see exactly what happened when I clicked on it. It's showing me what I had, how I saved it when I had it open in Excel. Okay, this is Excel, and this is EdgeRater. What you'll also notice is that when I select the template, the symbol list becomes enabled. The reason it becomes enabled is because I've got use this symbol list is true. All right, so that's basically the essential steps to getting this template set up. If you're with me, followed me so far, then you're doing well. And the next part is similar things, but this is where it gets a little bit more fun. So now we go over to sheet 1, and what I'm trying to do, my goal with this, is to have a template that will populate a row with each of the symbols from whatever symbol list I have selected. And so I have to mark this this Excel file up in ways that are understood by EdgeRater, and I do it using named ranges, the same as we did with the parameter sheet. And the important named ranges in here are, first of all, I'm going to select column A1, and I'm going to say that this is ER underscore symbol underscore col. Okay. Column B, I'm going to call ER underscore symbol underscore ER underscore date underscore col. Okay. So I'm expecting to get a symbol in this column and a row in this, and a date in column B. I'm going to just I'm going to choose a row that I want for my headers. This is important for sorting. I'm going to choose to put my headers on row 4. So what I'm going to say here is I'm going to select row 4, and I'm going to say that this is ER underscore header underscore row. All right, so I've got several things set up in here. Now on the header row, I can type in a header. It's just text. Nothing is really used within EdgeRater on that row. It's just for identification of a column. Symbol, I'm going to call it date for B. I like to, with these header rows, I like to bold them up. So I've got symbol, comma, symbol and date. And the other thing in order to get a template to actually work is we need to say where the data is going to be placed, where it's going to start to be placed when EdgeRater starts calculating values. And I want it to be start on row 5, right underneath the header. So I've selected essentially just the 2 cells right now, and I'm going to call those 2 cells together. It's a range of cells, ER underscore data. ER, you might guess, stands for EdgeRater. So everything, all of the names in a workbook with ER underscore at the beginning are all things that EdgeRater will use. So you might have a worksheet that has other named ranges in from other things you've been doing, so they won't conflict because we have ER underscore in front of all of the EdgeRater ones. All right, so that is, I'm going to save that. And now what I can do, in order to, this is a nice sort of way of testing things now, I can just click back over to EdgeRater. I'll hit the reset button. And whenever I hit reset, it rereads the template from the file system. So it's whatever changes I just made are now reflected in EdgeRater on here. So you see we've got a symbol and we've got a date. And now you might think that I could just hit run on here. Let me try that. Okay, so it's done something. Excuse me one sec. What it has done is it's done a lot of the things we wanted. For instance, it started populating data in row 5, and it's put symbols in column A. That was good. It's put a number in column B. Now column B was said to be a date, but it's got a number instead. So this will tell us something about the way that formatting works in Excel. If I bring back the worksheet in Excel and I click on the date cell, what I can do in here, and I like to put sort of example data in my data row just so I know how it's going to be formatted. So I'm going to say this is our fictitious stock called ABC, and the date I'm just going to say 112014. And you see, as soon as I've done that, the formatting of this cell has changed over to be a date format. So I'm just going to save that, go back over to EdgeRater, hit reset. You see it's got my default, my sample values in here, and now I can press run, and we can see that it's put the date in. I needed to expand the column a little bit, but it's put the current date of the last bar that we have. So I'll go back over to, there's one of the changes I need to make here is the column needed to be a little bit wider, so let me just make it wider, save it, hit reset over here, hit run. So now you see how I'm building up this template by sort of making a change in Excel, coming back over to EdgeRater, hitting reset and running it to see how it runs. So it's a good sort of iterative way of building up a spreadsheet. Now I call this template type a last bar values type of template. If you remember in the parameters sheet, the template type I called last bar values. That's important because EdgeRater there's a whole different variety of templates that EdgeRater knows about, but one of the most important ones is a last bar values template. And that just means that whenever a data point is fetched to show in the template, it's going to get the last bar for that data point. So my example would be if I look at the chart, security chart, and you have a whole bunch of bars of data on this chart, right? But there's only one data point, which is the last bar, which is the one over here. So if I was looking at AGQ, we see the close price of AGQ, if I just hover over there, was 68.6. So if I had the close data in the worksheet, it would actually say 68.6 for AGQ. But so let's go back to the templates again, and I'll bring back my template. And so I don't actually have any data points in here yet, so that's when we start to flesh this out a little bit with some interesting data. First thing I'm probably interested in, I tend to put this in all of the templates that I put together, is the close price. Okay, I'm just entering close into the header row. That means nothing for EdgeRater. It doesn't really. The only time EdgeRater uses the header row is for sorting. But I'm just going to bold that, and then I need to tell it what data should go in that column, and I do that by typing the name of the script that gets data, and it uses the last bar of that script. And close, to get the close price, the script is actually called close as well. So I'll just put that in here, and then I need to tell EdgeRater that this cell is actually a formula that it should get data for, and I do that by calling it, giving it a name, ERF underscore, and I'm going to say 1 because it's the first formula in this spreadsheet. I also, if you remember, I had set my data, ER data, only covers 2 columns right now. So if I save this, and I also try and put a little default value into into the cells here, so I know how it's formatted. So I'm going to say just 10, and I'm going to save that. Open it up in Reset My Template, and you see it's got the changes are reflected already in here. And now if I run this, you might be surprised, or you might not be surprised, to see that. Oh, I'm surprised now. Let me bring that back. Okay, so let's come back over here. And okay, so I've got my data defined here. I have my date column. That all worked before I put this close piece in. And so I'll go to my formulas, and I'll just make sure that my name for ERF1 is correct. It appears to be. Okay. All right. Well, what I wanted to show is that really with data, the data should span all of the rows that you're wanting in the calculations. So I just need to increase the width of data so that now ER data spans those 3 columns rather than the 2 columns. And you see I'm sort of flying through Excel and doing these things. I'm very familiar with the way this works, and so if you're not overly familiar with that, just pause the video a bit and try and see what I'm doing, and you'll soon get the hang of moving around Excel like this. I'm just going to save that, and then I'm going to hit reset on my template and run the template. So now you can see what has happened is we now have included a column for close. This template, by the way, because we've set this up as a last bar values template, now EdgeRater knows quite a lot already. Even though we've only got close price, it knows a lot about how to work with this data. So already I can click on or double click on a excuse me. Right, so already I can double click on a cell and it will bring up my template, and I can then scroll down through the list just as normal in any of the other templates in EdgeRater. So you can do this straight away with your template that you created. And so the value here, remember I said 6902, it should always be looking at the last bar value. So the close of that bar was 6902. As expected. Other things that you get sort of automatically, because said this was a header row, row 4. Now it's enabled it to be sorted by just clicking on the header. So I can sort by symbol, I can sort by close value, I can click again and it will do a reverse sort. So now we see price, is that right? Price line at 1, 2, 2, yeah, so that's correct too. So already it has some functionality, but it's not really showing us anything of super interest, unless you're interested in the close price. So let's go back to the template and make it do something more interesting. So I'll bring back up my template. So we talked a lot in previous webinars about %B, which is basically where a stock price closes between its Bollinger Bands. You know, if it's 0%, it means it's at the lower band. If it's 100%, it means it's at the upper band. And anywhere in between, then it's, you know, somewhere in between those Bollinger Bands. So I think it would be nice to have, you know, I'm thinking now designing a template, it would be nice if I had %B showing up in one of these columns. So in order to do that, what you have to do is know the name of the script that is going to provide you with the value for %B. And what do I mean by the name of the script? Let's go to the charts. And I'm going to look here for, I know it's called %B. If I double click on this, we know that, and I'm going to remove some of these things that I don't really want. Okay, so now I have basically a standard chart with a 200 period moving average and %B in the lower chart. The name that you need to use for a template is the name that appears under area properties for that area. So it would be this name up here. So %B brackets 20,2 is the name that you need. Now if the script happens to be a script not from the indicators area, but from the scans area, for instance, if we wanted to put in a cross above the upper Bollinger Band, so we'd get 1 and 0 values in our template, then we need to know the name of this script, and that happens to be, look over here, scan.aubb20,2. So it's important to go over to the area properties because that will tell you what the initial wording should be. Okay, if you look just in the sub area here, you can just see that it says AUBB. It doesn't tell us that it's in the scans area, but we need to know that for a template. So I always look over here at the area properties, and what you probably have seen just now, I changed the parameters just because there is currently a small bug that when you first select an area, like here, it's just saying %B20. It's not giving me the second parameters. But if I change the second parameter, you see that it suddenly comes back as 20,2. So I always just change it to make sure it refreshes and gives me the right name. So remember that, %B brackets 20,2. Okay, come over to the template, and this is just my header row, so I can just say whatever I want in here. I'll call it %B, and then I'll go up here. This is where I'm going to put the formula, which is %B 20,2 close bracket. And I need to tell EdgeRater that this is actually a formula. So I do that, remember, by saying ERF underscore, and I'll call this 2, formula number 2. I always like to make sure that these names are grayed out a little bit. So I sort of do that. You'll see in a lot of the templates that I produce. Just because I don't, these names are not really interesting when you're viewing the template. The interesting names are what you give in the header. And because I've added another column in here, I then have to go in and change my data, because currently data is only going down to 3 columns. And I'll put a sample value in here. We'll say 1, and I'll save this. Now I haven't changed the data. Remember, I still got it set to be 3 columns only, and this is what I wanted to show. If I reset this template and then run it with my ER data spanning only columns A, B, and C, it doesn't run. All right, what I need to do is go into the template and change the ER data range to make sure it spans row D as well. But if you know ahead of time that you're going to be adding 10 rows, you know, say I know I'm always going to be adding to row G, I can just go ahead and make that change at the beginning and just say my data is going to be A through G. And then I don't have to go and change it every time I add a new column. But I do like to go and make sure at the end of template development that I have set the number of columns to the exact number of columns that I'm using. Otherwise, you can get some interesting behaviors. Okay, so I've got my data now set to A through G. And if I go into the template, hit reset, and then run it, we've now got %B values, and they're sortable as well. But you'll notice the formatting of %B is a little off because we've got quite a few decimal places here, and on a chart, if we look at the chart, we only see %B down to 3 decimal places. So, but maybe I'm only interested in seeing %B down to 2 decimal places. What I would do is go to my Excel template that I'm working on, select this cell, which is going to contain the value, and then just set the formatting up so that it is, I'm going to say it's a number with 2 decimal places, and I'll save that. And then if I go back over to my template, hit reset, you can see it's already in the sample data here. It's just got 2 decimal places. If I hit run, then we've got %B to 2 decimal places only. Okay, so now you might then be interested in trying to highlight some things. For instance, if %B is greater than 1, which means that the price is trading above the upper Bollinger Band, you might want to highlight that in a color. So it's just something that you do I select the cell, and then in Excel you have this idea of conditional formatting. So I could say highlight cell rules greater than 1, I want to be green. Click OK, and I can test that out in Excel just by typing. I can type 1.1 here. You can see it's green. If I type 0.5, you see it's just normal coloring. So let's save that, reset the template, run it again. Now you can see everything that is greater than 1 is highlighted in green. Okay. You can double click on one of these and we can just verify that these are above the upper Bollinger Band. Let me choose a layout. In fact, let me choose, come back over here. So I'm just going to create my own layout with Bollinger Bands in. I like to do that. Drag that over there. And let me save that as my hang on one second. Yeah, so I think that's saved. Alright, so now you should know that if you scroll through these stocks one by one, every one of these stocks that's in green now has price above the upper Bollinger Band. So that alone could be interesting to you. Now, often you don't have sorting is basically ascending or descending. I couldn't, for instance, click on the header here and get it to bring to the top of the list stocks that have a %B value between, say, 0.5 and 0.8. If I wanted to find that the way it's currently configured, I'd have to go down and say, let me sort it by low to high %Bs, and I'll scroll all the way down until I get to my 0.5s, and then I'll look for things that are between 0.5 and 0.8 if I was interested in those in particular. So if you want to bring those to the top of the list, there's a way that you can do it, and that's just a simple Excel. You try and get Excel to give you a true or a false value if the value meets your criteria. So I'll show you what I mean here. And I'm going to call this a sort column. But you could call it something more meaningful to the actual sort that we're doing. But this is going to be a sort column. And the formula that I'm going to put in here, it's an Excel formula. So again, if you know Excel, this is going to be easy for you. And it's going to be, basically the formula is going to be if %b is greater than 0.5. Remember I said between 0.5 and 0.8, so basically I'm going to have to use an AND condition in here too. So if %b is greater than 0.5 and %b is less than 0.8, then give me a 1 value, otherwise give me a 0 value. And now I can sort of test that by saying, well, 0.6 in %b, well, it gives me a 1 value, 0.9 in %b gives me a 0 value. So now I'll get a 1 in here whenever it's the value is what I want to bring to the top of the list. So I'll just save that, click on reset over here, run the template. And now if I click the sort column, okay, I'm now bringing to the top of the list stocks that are between 0.5 and 0.8. They all have a 1 value. But what you'll notice is that the actual ordering of %b is sort of a little bit random. It's not ordered. So it would be nice if I could order those from low to high. And the way to do that is just by using this idea of multiple sort columns. So I'll sort first of all by clicking on the %b header, which sorts low to high, and then I'm going to sort on the sort column, and now I've got 0.5s through to 0.8s, and then it goes back to whatever the lowest %b value was when it starts hitting 0 here. So this is kind of the way that you would build out a template. The other thing that is nice to do, kind of bonus points I think for doing something like this, is instead of using a 0 value for sorting, it doesn't really mean too much if it's 0 and it doesn't look that great. You could say yes or no, and that again, it's an Excel function, and what you do is it's called a custom format. And the way that you set that up is you just click on the cell, you go to formatting of the cell, you say custom formatting, and for this type of format I'm just going to enter this format string here, which basically is saying that a 1 value is yes and a 0 value is no. And I'll click on OK. You see the sort column is saying no for 0.9s. If I put a 0.7 in here, then it's yes, and it's colored blue because that was the format I specified. All right, let's save that. Go back into Edgerator, hit run, sort by this column, and now you can see all of the yeses, everything between 0.5 and 0.8 comes to the top of the list. And so what it's sort of the interesting part of that, there are many interesting parts of that, but one of the interesting things is this column isn't getting data from Edgerator. This column is getting data from Edgerator, and so is this column and this column and this column. Symbol, date, close price, %b. This column is just a calculated column within Excel that is using other columns to calculate a value. And so the point of that is the data doesn't have to come from Edgerator. You can do all kinds of things that you could do in Excel, and that makes it extremely powerful with all of the formulas and other things that you get built into Excel. And any formula that you enter in Excel, I'll say any formula, it's actually 95% of the formulas you enter in Excel in here will also be evaluated properly in when you're running it within Edgerator. So it's quite a powerful thing to do, and there are all kinds of techniques you can use to make something look really smart. If you, I mean, just take a look at any of the templates I've put together. Some of the newer templates, I learn as going along in this, but for instance, retracements in a downtrend template from the Jeffrey Scott category. If I run that, you'll see some of the techniques that we just talked about. I have just laid this template out in a way that it looks a little bit more attractive, perhaps. Highlighting it, you can do coloring. If values are within a certain range, you can do that sort of thing. So yeah, I've built this template, and obviously in conjunction with just developing the template, I also wrote some scripts to give me the values that I want to place in the template. And that's really a topic for another session. But I think if you probably saw, if we just go over to the charts area, any script that's over here in this library section, script library, you can use those within templates. And of course you can create your own scripts too. So if you had values that you wanted to calculate that aren't built into the system right now, you can go ahead and create those scripts, place them on a chart to see how they look, and then put them into a template that you can run every day to give you the values that you need. So, and any script that you put, any template that you put together will be under my templates category. I've just gone through kind of a basic template. I don't want to get any more detailed than that in this sort of quick session. But even this, getting to this level, it does require that you have some knowledge of Excel, as you can see. So I'm going to move on from there. You can obviously review the video to find out more about it, but first of all, let's see if there are any questions. Okay, thanks, Ron. So based on what you saw, I'm going to ask for a yes or no answer here. Based on what you saw, with some review of the video, do you think that you will be able to put together a template with values that you're interested in? Awesome. And is anyone excited about doing it? Awesome. Yeah, and I think it's a really super powerful feature in the program. I mean, if you don't want to go ahead and get your hands dirty doing templates, then new templates are released every month. So I do a whole bunch of research and I put together these templates. So there's nothing stopping you from doing that research and putting together your own templates. It's just that that's kind of an additional service that I provide, and I kind of enjoy doing it. So hopefully you will too. Is there a community area for members to share their own templates? There isn't right now, but it doesn't mean that there couldn't be. We have a community area on the Edgerator website. It's in the forums. Let me show you where that is. Sorry, I'm just bringing up my browser. So if I click on forums in here, and I come to the list of forums, basically this is a community area, and we use it for some things like symbol lists. There's a post which has a bunch of symbol lists that people have uploaded, and they're just in here as zip files, so you could download those and put them in your symbol lists folder, and they become symbol lists for you. It would be possible to set up a templates area too, if that was of interest. So if you want to make a post on the forum and call it templates, then I could just put your template in there. I could probably gather them all together and put them in a separate post so that they're all in one place. would not be a problem. There is a little bit of a danger in that, in sharing templates. So if you're going to do that, make sure that your templates are XLSX files, not XLSM files. XLSX files are guaranteed not to have macros in them. If it's an XLSM file, it's possible that anybody could have put a macro into the file, and that when you open it up on your system, if you downloaded somebody else's template with a macro in it, it will execute that macro, and it can do, you know, it can do anything that whatever a macro can do, it can do. So it's a little bit of a dangerous thing if somebody puts a malicious macro template. I don't think any of Edgerator users would do that, but you know, potentially that person doesn't even know if they have downloaded a virus somewhere and that virus inserts macros into their own Excel documents, then you don't want to share them like that. So just make sure, and also if you download templates, make sure they're XLSX and not XLSM templates, and that way you will be safe. Okay. All right. So that's good. We can come back and we can do more stuff on templates at another time. But I think that's enough to get started with. And I said I had a slide, so that might be of interest to you and should become. I didn't want to show this before because you wouldn't understand what I was talking about. But this is the namings that we talked about. So in the spreadsheet that gives you the actual values, you've got the column A, which is my ER underscore symbol underscore col, my column B, which is my date col, ERF underscore 1 for this, ERF underscore 2 for the %B, ER underscore data for all of those cells there, and ER header row, this whole row 4. And on the parameters sheet, there were 3 values that were important. Uses symbol list. Uses symbol list. Of course, I got the name wrong in this in this slide. It should be uses symbol list. I'm sure you will figure that out. And yeah, the template type is important. The max look back is important. So those basically those are the named ranges that you should be using. If you have a lot of formulas, for instance, you might have ERF1 to, you may have 20 or 30 different formulas you want to have in different columns, then you don't have to name them all with separate numbers. You can select the whole range of 20 or 30 columns and just call them ERF underscore 1, the whole range, and that will work too. Or you could just name them individually like this. Okay, I'm just reading some questions. So Ron asks that he's interested in finding the first cross above the one standard deviation Bollinger Band after prices cross below the lower band. Do you have a suggestion on how to scan for this? You will have to write a script to do that scan. And scripts are written using a formula language, which is very similar to the Metastock formula language or AmiBroker formula language. That's MFL or AFL, respectively. And so the chart script is another form of formula language. All the formula languages work the same. So you'd have to put a scan together to do that, and then you would be able to put it into to a template. Before we go, I just want to remind everybody that there is the discount that I introduced is going to expire tomorrow. So if you haven't taken advantage of the 40% discount, which will include all of the existing templates in the system and another year's worth of templates, so you don't even know what's coming up. I have an idea of a few things coming up, but not everything. That's all included, and that is the 40% discount. So instead of the $2,000, it's essentially $1,200 It expires tomorrow, so please take advantage of the link on the website, and I'll show you where that is. If we just go over to products, and under here, don't click on this thing that says add to cart for $19.97. Click underneath where it says special offer, and that will give you a link for the discounted price. You can just add that to the cart and check out from there. Once you have the software, so if you're running the trial version, you'll see, and I just ran mine as a trial to show you how to do this, you'll see that it says trial in the upper left hand corner. So once you get a serial key, if you buy the software, you will in an email automatically receive an unlock key for the software. Click on the trial button, click on unlock previous purchase, and then you'll be able to enter the serial number in there. Don't click on purchase Edgerator Pro from here, because that's going to take you to the checkout page for the full price. So if you clicked on that, you'll come to the checkout page for the full price. You at that point probably just want to click remove from there and go back to products and click on the special offer down here. And the other thing I forgot to mention about when we were talking about putting together your own templates, and something that's really powerful, so I think I should mention it, is if I reset this template, remember this is a last bar values template, so it's showing me the last bar. I go to security chart, I've got %B in here. Okay. If I click run, it's showing me the 716 bar as %B value in here. If I open this up and I look at, I can put %B into an area down here too. I'll just do that quickly. Not that one. Alright, so now we have this little windowed chart with that. So we can see the value in here is 0.298. Here it's been rounded up to 0.3. So all of the numbers there should correspond to what you see in here. So you know you're looking at last bar. So the thing I wanted to show that's really powerful is what if you wanted to look at some point previously. That's when you can use the historical run date. So I can just go change my date over to, I don't know, if I'm interested in June the 2nd, and I click on run. Yeah, if I click on run on June the 2nd, now the date column has got June the 2nd in, and these are all %B values from June 2nd. Now if I click on the chart, or double click on here and bring up a chart, the edge event is pointing to June 2nd, and you can see the %B value for June 2nd is what stock are we looking at? Okay, so let's click on down here. So I hover over June 2nd. You can see the highlight in the bottom corner, at the bottom of the chart says June 2nd, and we can see that the %B value on that date was 0.876, and in the template it says 0.88 because we're rounding up in the template. Even though the template is rounding up, if you use other calculations in the template based on that value, it's going to use the proper value, not the rounded value. So that was just something that can be of interest if you, for instance, Ron, if you were interested in the scan you just talked about, you can then set the date to any date previously and quickly go through the charts to, see how they panned out. I think for now, that is it. Yeah, so that is it. So we talked about converting your trial to an unlocked version, and then it will, next time you run it, it will be the full Pro version, Edgerator Pro Unleashed. So hopefully everybody can take advantage of that deal. And thanks all for, hang on, Ron. Oh, a couple of other questions, sorry. sorry. Okay, Paul, you will have received the serial key when you purchase the program. You get a receipt email, and at the bottom of the receipt email you'll find the serial key. Send me an email if you can't find it, and I'll look it up for you. Does it include MACD divergence scan? Yes, all the templates that are currently in the program are included. So that does include MACD divergence and the George Lee scans and all the Jeffries scans and the market timing signals and all of that. Everything is included. It's not, you don't buy the program and then find it's missing a piece that you wanted. It's all there. Plus you'll get the next year's worth of stuff too. Okay, Ron, you should email me separately about that. And okay, great. All right, well, thanks everyone for joining, and I will send an email out when the video is ready, and I will also send an email out for the next time we do one of these, hopefully soon. So thanks a lot, and happy trading. See you soon.